Today's workshop is entitled Effective Literature Search and will be delivered by Mrs. Aida Farha. Mrs. Farha graduated with the BS in Pharmacy from AUB, can I dare to say that?
Yes.
Okay. In 1975, before I was born.
Yeah.
And she has been working as a medical information specialist at SML for over 37 years. She has done many workshops, seminars in Lebanon and many Arab countries about effective searching of the medical literature to locate the evidence-based medicine information that may lead to a better patient care. I'm sure you're going to find this workshop extremely helpful, whether you end up pursuing a career in medicine or any other research-related field. Mrs. Farha, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice for a change to see people not wearing their white gowns for a change. I hope in the future you will be wearing your white gowns at the SMI. Now, before I start, I would like to tell you that the material that I give it as a course here at AUB to the students that are doing master's or PhD in the basic sciences. So the material is very huge, and now I'm going to try to condense it and to give it in 1.5 hours. So I will do my best. First of all, you all know this is AUB. We have the libraries, and then we have many libraries at AUB. And the library that I come from is SML or AUB Medical Library. Before I start with searching, there is something that I always like to start with whenever I'm giving an information literacy class. It's the ABC of searching. I call it ABC of searching. Things that you really have to understand very well if you want to do good searches on any computer. I know we all search Google, we all search PubMed, but what I teach is how to do an effective and efficient search on these resources and any other computer resource that you want to do. For you to understand this, as I said, the ABC of searching, it starts with what is called Boolean operators. Do you know what are the Boolean operators? Anybody knows? What are they? There are 3 Boolean operators, and, or not. Now, it's very important that you understand when to use each one. For example, if I'm searching the computer and I'm looking for anything about hypertension in pregnancy, usually I don't go to the computer and type in hypertension in pregnancy. What I should do, I should search for hypertension alone, pregnancy alone, and then what Boolean operator should I use? And I will be retrieving this shaded part that contains both hypertension and pregnancy. And this is what I want. So I should say hypertension and pregnancy. On the other hand, if I'm searching for daghut, and I know daghut can appear as hypertension, it can also appear as high blood pressure. So if I'm searching for daghut, this is hypertension, this is high blood pressure, so I should put hypertension or high blood pressure. And I will be retrieving any point here. Correct? Yes. Now, as you can see, when I search with AND, the number of hits decreases. When I search with OR, the number of hits increases. And usually when I'm searching for a topic or a concept, I can OR the synonyms like hypertension or high blood pressure. I don't need both to be available in the same record. One of them will do for my daghut search. So this is quite easy when we are combining 2 concepts together. But it gets a little bit complicated if I'm using different operators. For example, if I'm searching any computer and I'm interested in hypertension in pregnancy, and I said hypertension and pregnancy, if I didn't find enough records, what should I do? I should enlarge my search. And how do I enlarge my search? By including the OR. So if I have the 3 concepts, pregnancy, hypertension, high blood pressure, what Boolean operator should be used here? And what Boolean operator should be used here? Now, is this a correct statement? Why not? This is not correct because different programs will process this differently depending on the way they are built. Some programs are built in to process Boolean ANDs before. Some programs are built in to process Boolean ORs before. And in each of these processing, I will get different results. Now, suppose I'm using MEDLINE or PubMed, and I have this search strategy. How is MEDLINE or PubMed going to execute it? Will it do the AND before or will it do the OR? We don't know. I search PubMed 100 times every day at least. I don't know how it will process my combination of Boolean ANDs and ORs. So I have to force the program to process it the way I want. And this forcing can be done by putting parentheses around the terms that I want to be processed first. So where should I put my parentheses? Do I want the AND to be processed first, or do I want the OR to be processed first? Now, some people are saying AND, some people are saying OR. I'm going to rewrite the same statement exactly. These are two identical statements. Now, if I want the first statement to process the AND before, I do it like this. The second statement, if I wanted to process the OR before, I do it like this. Now, these two statements are completely different. Which one of them will give me hypertension in pregnancy? Is it the first or the second? Anybody says the first? Why? Because the first, I'm processing pregnancy and hypertension first. Now, the result so far, is it good? Yes. But when I OR this result with high blood pressure, the final result, is it good? But here, I'm processing hypertension or high blood pressure first. Is it good now for my topic? No. But when I end this with pregnancy, then the final one is correct. So it's the second one. So you have to be very careful when you're doing a Boolean operator search and you have a mixture of ANDs and ORs. You have to force what Boolean part do you want to be processed first. Don't leave it for the computer because we don't know. The computer will searching what will it do first. Is that clear? It's very important. This is rule number one that you really have to understand and apply, or else everything you're doing will turn out to be wrong. Any question about that? I'll tell you a small story. I always start my classes, and I do a lot of teachings. بال-AUB وبريت ال-AUB. I always start with the ABC of searching Boolean operators. And in one class, I was teaching physicians in my library. It was a 3-hour session. Came في break in between. So I started with this. During the break, I was asking one of the doctors, how do you like my teachings? قال لي Aida, it's very good, but why do you teach us Boolean operators? We are Boolean generation. We all know Boolean. We were born with a computer. When I was born, there was no computer at that time. I said, maybe you know Boolean, but I see the physicians in the library, they don't do good Boolean operators, and it's very important. Anyway, we continued the class after the break, and I was teaching them how to search a database called Cochrane. And I designed a search strategy like this one, and I asked the class, is this a correct search strategy? Nobody answered. So I looked at the guy that was telling me, Aida, why do you teach us Boolean? I said, you, Boolean guy, is this a correct statement? ما عمل لي هيك، عمل هيك على الديسك قال لي I am not Boolean, I am Boolean. He doesn't know Boolean. And he was arguing with me, why do you teach us? We are the computer generation. Why do you teach us? Well, hello, إنه on the same day, I was reading an article by a medical librarian in the USA, and she was complaining, and whenever she teaches the physicians about Boolean, they all tell her, we know Boolean, why are you teaching Boolean? And I assure you, the majority, they don't know, and it is very important. If you do a wrong Boolean, حطيته and instead of or vice versa, or you have a mixture of ands and ors, and you didn't put correctly your parentheses, every research you're doing is for nothing. Okay, so it's very important. Now, some programs, they have what we call Boolean by default. What is the default Boolean in Google? And so if I do hospital infection, let me say I'm searching hospital infection like this in Google. What will it search for me? Hospital and infection. It's a Boolean and by default. The space is considered as and. But if I want hospital infection without and, I will put phrase. So I can force a phrase search like this. I don't want hospital and infection. Hospital and infection will give me many irrelevant. So I want hospital next to infection in Google. I can do this phrase search. Now PubMed, what's the Boolean operator by default? You use PubMed, isn't it? Some of you, yes, or some. Anyway, there is a Boolean and, but it is intelligent. If we have time to cover PubMed today, I will show you why it's more intelligent than Google. So, Boolean operators and phrase search, we have to understand them. The third thing that we have to understand is called truncation. Truncation, if I am interested in pollution, for example, I can truncate pollution like this. I can search for P-O-L-L-U-T-I star. This is a truncation of the word pollution. What does this give me? It will give me any record that contains polluti, if there is such a word, pollution, pollutions, polluting, pollutings. But is this a good way to truncate if I'm searching for pollution? This is not a good way because this will not give me pollutants. And pollutants is an important concept for my search of pollution. So I have to know where to put my truncation, and I will truncate after the T. Now I'll get polluting, pollutings, pollution, pollutions, pollutant, pollutants, and it's an important concept, the pollutant. So you have to know where to truncate. If I'm looking for cats and I search cat truncated, is it a good way to truncate? Why not?
It has a lot of other words.
Irrelevant documents. What's the good way to do it? How can I solve this problem? Cat or cats. Somebody said cat or cats. So I will not truncate. I will say cat or cats. And this I will get all the relevant ones because I'm interested in either cat or cats. But I don't want the irrelevant one, catalog, catermina, catastrophe, catalyst, etc., etc. So this will get me both the cat or the cats that I'm interested in without the irrelevant ones. These are the basic options that you really have to understand if you want to do good searches on practically anything. Now, there is a program that appeared yesterday or is going to come up after 1 month, and you want to do good searches on that program, so I will advise you to go to the search help, search guide, tips on searching, such terminology in the program that you want to use, and see this program, does it allow Boolean operators? Does it allow parentheses? Does it allow phrase searching? Does it allow truncation? and then you will be able to do good searches on that. Okay, so this is general rules that apply to most databases. Now we're going to go into the most important database for medicine, because you're going to do medical research, and to explain it, it's very sophisticated, and we're going to see how to best search it. Okay? So, but before that, let me show you quickly our homepage. So this is the SAB Medical Library homepage. We have, as you know, in any library, we have e-books and e-journals. The hard copy books and journals we're not buying much because we're going into electronic. And we have databases. We have an excellent collection at the AUB libraries, including SAB Medical Library. But any item that you feel you need, and you are a current AUB user, you can request it from us, we pay for it, and we get you the full text. Now, very briefly, our homepage, we have quick access. These are the most widely used resources. How do I? Here we explain to you how to do any of these, and then there's the evidence by specialty. It's mainly for clinicians. Then here we have a journal finder. If you want to search for any journal to see if we subscribe to it at AUB or not, this is where you can go. And we have the ebook finder. If you want to see if we have a certain ebook or not, this is where to go. And then we have sections that we have created, tools for physicians, nurses, public health users, and patients. If you are a physician, these are tools for different things that you can search on our webpage, and many other things that are down. I'm not going to spend more time on these because I want to take you really into the how to search for medical literature. Okay, and to do that, we have the most important database for medicine and medical sciences is what is called MEDLINE. Or PubMed, but we're going to start with MEDLINE. MEDLINE is the most important bibliographic database for medicine and medical sciences. It started in the early 1900s, so we have more than 100 years that we can search MEDLINE. What is actually MEDLINE? It's actually an index to around 5,700 international journals, medicine and medical sciences. It contains a little bit of psychology, sociology, biology, but it's mainly clinical. Okay? Now, it's very important that we understand how MEDLINE is built so that we do good searches on that. And I need your attention for at least 10 minutes to know the structure. Now, there are two ways that we can search MEDLINE, but before that, let me tell you, how is MEDLINE done? MEDLINE, it's done by the National Library of Medicine, which is part of NIH بأمريكا, and they have physicians that work for them to produce MEDLINE. The job of these physicians, they have to read the articles appearing in the 5,700 international journals. They read the articles, they see what the article is talking about, and they assign indexing terms to reflect the content of the article. These indexing terms, we call them MESH, a very important term for the medical literature search. To put it in other words, all articles in MEDLINE or PubMed are being read by indexers. They read the whole article, they see what the article is talking about, and they assign mesh terms to reflect the content. So if I have an article that has 3 meshes, Lebanon, prison, tuberculosis, I know that this article is talking about tuberculosis in prisons in Lebanon. It's talking about. And this is the nice thing about these medical databases. They have people to read the article and to assign this mesh term, and the article will be talking about these. If we want to compare MEDLINE indexing to Google, our friend Google, I love Google, I use it always, but I know when to use or not. In Google, how do they do the indexing? To put it very simply, they have computer programs, and the program roams around the websites or journal articles, and they do indexing according to the content of the article. They don't intelligently do it. For example, in MEDLINE, there are two ways that we can do the search. One way is by keyword. The other way is by subject. To see the difference between these, I will give you a very simple example. Now, suppose I go to MEDLINE and I'm interested in acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. If I search in MEDLINE for AIDS as a keyword, what will I retrieve? I will retrieve any article index that contains the word AIDS. It's not intelligent, it just sees the occurrence of the word AIDS. So it could be an article that has the family name of the author AIDS, or an article that has the address of the author, AIDS Department, AUB MC. Or it could be an article that has the title, the nurse AIDS, the physician in treating the patient. All of these, they have nothing to do with my AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So this is the keyword search. It's a dumb search. It's not intelligent. It just looks for the occurrence of the word as it appears in the paper. On the other hand, the other way that I can search MEDLINE is by mesh. When I search with the mesh aids, what do I retrieve now? I retrieve articles that the indexer, he read them and he found that they talk about AIDS. That's why they assign the mesh aids. So I will get articles talking about AIDS. You see the difference between these two? This is a dumb keyword search. It only looks for the occurrence of the word without intelligent searching. And the subject or mesh, I get articles talking about AIDS. Is it clear? Now, Google, does it have a mesh? Does it have people that read the document and index them under these? No, it just looks for the occurrence of the word. Now, the nice thing about medical databases is that they group the mesh terms in a tree structure format. For example, we have the mesh gastrointestinal tract. This is a mesh. Now, the theory is here. It might look unclear or not interesting, but in a few minutes, we're going to go live and to apply all these things. I still need few minutes. Now, the mesh is gastrointestinal tract. It has narrower meshes like stomach, intestines, liver, pancreas, and so on. Now, under intestines, we have small intestines, large intestines. Under small intestines, we have ileum, jejunum, colon, and so on. This is the tree structure of the meshes. They group it from a broad mesh to narrower and narrower and narrower meshes. Now, if I go to MEDLINE and I search for the mesh gastrointestinal tract, what do I retrieve? I retrieve articles talking about gastrointestinal tract. But I have the choice to explode. to explode the mesh gastrointestinal tract. Now, what do I retrieve? I will retrieve articles talking about gastrointestinal tract, or articles talking about stomach, or talking about intestines, or talking about ileum, or talking about liver, or talking about pancreas. This explode is the wow of searching on the computer. Can you imagine? I search with the mesh gastrointestinal tract and explode. I get articles talking about ileum, talking about jejunum, talking about liver, talking about pancreas. Can you see this wow explode?
Yes.
So this is the one thing that I want to mention. Another thing, an average article in MEDLINE will have around 10 mesh terms attached to it. Yani the article is talking about 10 subjects at the same time. Some of these subjects, the article will be discussing heavily, and we call them major mesh. And some of these subjects, the article will be discussing as a secondary concept, and we call them minor mesh. When I search with the mesh aids, I get major mesh aids, yani I get articles talking heavily about AIDS, and I also get minor mesh aids, yani I get articles talking about AIDS as a secondary concept. I have the choice to focus. When I focus, I only get major mesh, yani I get articles talking heavily about my concept. My concept is the main topic that the article is discussing. Okay, enough of the theory. Let's go now actually to MEDLINE and see how we can apply these, and with few additional things. So we said that MEDLINE, we have more than 100 years. It's an index to 5,700 journals. Let's take a very simple example and try to search it on MEDLINE. Suppose I'm interested in nutrition disorders in Arab countries. This is my topic, and I want to look up articles that talk about nutrition disorders in Arab countries. We said that there are two ways to search MEDLINE, either the mesh or the dumb keyword search. Searching with the mesh is better because I get articles talking about my concepts. But what is the mesh? Let me give you a simple example for the mesh. The mesh, for example, if we say saratan, this mesh is a controlled vocabulary. The system assigns what is the mesh. Let's take the simple example saratan. The mesh for saratan in MEDLINE is neoplasms. The system assigned in mesh is neoplasms. So if we are authors of articles, and we all write about saratan, but some of us use cancer, some of us use tumor, the British, some of us use tumor, the American, some of us use neoplasms, some of us use malignancy. We use different terminologies for saratan. إحنا as authors, we can use the term that we want. But when the indexer reads the articles that we wrote about saratan, all of these, they have to go in under the controlled vocabulary or mesh, which is neoplasms. So the nice thing about mesh, it captures the different terminologies that different authors use. I don't have to worry about it. So when I search with the mesh neoplasms, it gets me articles talking about cancer. It gets me articles talking about tumor. It gets me articles talking about malignancy, etc. Google, on the other hand, لا. If I put cancer in Google, I only get articles that contain the word cancer. Article ما فيها cancer وعم تحكي عن tumor will not be retrieved. So here the mesh it captures all the different synonyms لأنه it's one controlled vocabulary for the concept سرطان, and also it gets me articles talking about cancer مش articles فيهم كلمة cancer. I hope this is clearer now, the keyword versus the mesh. So let's go back to MEDLINE and let's try to search for the topic nutrition disorders in Arab countries. We said that searching with a mesh is better than doing the dumb keyword search. But what is the mesh? MEDLINE, we have more than hundreds of meshes, different concepts. MEDLINE will help me identify the mesh provided I key in concept by concept. If I go to MEDLINE and I put nutrition disorders in Arab countries, ما في mesh. It's many concepts. I have to cut my topic into concepts, search for each concept alone to get the mesh, and then do the combination with the Boolean operators. So my topic, nutrition disorders in Arab countries. How many concepts is that? Can you guess? 3. 4? La. Arab countries is one. Arab countries is a concept. But nutrition disorders, is it 1 or 2 concepts? Let's think about it. We have to know that nutrition is something, nutrition disorders is something else. And we are searching a good, sophisticated medical database. When nutrition disorders, they have been since ages. It's not something new that happened last year. So we should expect to find a mesh for nutrition and another mesh, nutrition disorders. So I will try nutrition disorders as one mesh. If it didn't have that, then I will have to go to nutrition and disorders, and I will get many irrelevant ones. So it doesn't matter with which concept I will start. So let's go ahead and go. This is MEDLINE under quick access, and because it's for over 100 years, we have different sections of MEDLINE. I'm going to take the section corresponding to MEDLINE 1996 up to now, which is this one. We buy MEDLINE from a company called Ovid. So we said that I hope my topic is 2 concepts, Arab countries, nutrition disorders. I need to get their meshes, and then I'll be doing a good search. Now, what is the mesh?
You need to use the laptop, right?
Sorry. So, all I have to do is simply type in my concept, which is nutrition disorders, and click search. MEDLINE will suggest 1 or more mesh terms for me, and they come as hyperlinked in blue like this one. And at the end, it always gives me the choice to search for the term that I have entered as a keyword. Now here, it selected the first one for me, and it identified it as the same words. But if I were dumb, I will select the keyword. But I'm not dumb, and you will not allow me to be dumb. So I will take the mesh. Now, if I click on the link of the mesh, nutrition disorders, what do I open? I open the tree structure that is similar to the gastrointestinal tract. All of these are meshes, broad mesh or narrower meshes. Now, nutrition disorders is under nutritional and metabolic diseases. And under nutrition disorders, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 narrower mesh terms. And some of these mesh terms, they have pluses. Yani, if I click on the plus, I open the narrower mesh terms. So under overnutrition, we have obesity. I don't need to open the pluses, but if I want to, I can click to see the narrower mesh terms. Now, nutrition disorders, we have 5,245 articles that talk about nutrition disorders. But if there is an article that talks about child nutrition disorders or infant nutrition disorders or obesity or overnutrition, they are not included. But I am interested in any article talking about nutrition disorders or talking about any of its narrower mesh terms, even the terms that I didn't open, I have to explode. And the first square box is for explode. So now I have exploded nutrition disorders. I might get 200,000 articles that talk about nutrition disorders or any of its narrower mesh terms. This is the definition of explode, narrower mesh terms. Okay? Now, the second square box is telling me, do you want to focus? Like this, I didn't focus. What does that mean? It means that I will retrieve major mesh nutrition disorders, and I will also retrieve minor mesh nutrition disorders. If I focus like this, the number decreases, and I will retrieve only major mesh nutrition disorders. Now, whether to explode or not, usually we will explode in 99% of the cases, because I will be interested in the broad heading and the narrower ones. But to focus or not, here you have to ask yourself, at the very end of my search, nutrition disorders in Arab countries, do you expect to get too many? If you say yes, we're going to get too many, I focus. Focusing decreases the number and gets me the articles that talk heavily about my concept. If I'm going to get 2 articles, I will not focus. But if I get 2,000 and I'm not going to read the 2,000, I will focus. Because I give this example every time I teach MEDLINE, I know we're going to get too many hits, so I'm going to focus. The I, every mesh term has an I. Sometimes you are not sure that this is the mesh for your concept. In this case, I don't have any doubt, so I don't need to go to the I. But if I had doubts and know this is the nutrition disorders I'm looking for, I go to the I and it tells me what is meant with this disorder. So I have selected my concept, I go up and I click continue. Look how MEDLINE is sophisticated. All diseases, like nutrition disorders, they have a list of subheadings. And familiarize yourself with these subheadings. If my topic was prevention or treatment of nutrition disorders in Arab countries, how many concepts will that be? Still 2, because I should know that prevention or treatment of any disease, I can take as subheadings attached to the mesh. I don't need to consider prevention or treatment as separate concepts. This is better because here, prevention of nutrition disorders. It's not nutrition disorders and prevention. Is that clear? So, if I was looking for prevention or treatment, I will select this one. Maybe I'll take surgery, يمكن I'll take rehabilitation, therapy, drug therapy, diet therapy. So I will select all the possible subheadings that apply to my concept, and then I click continue, but now I want them all. So I will click continue. So now we have created set number 1. EXP, it tells me that this is exploded. The star at the beginning of the term, it tells me I have focused. Because if I do many searches, I will forget, did I focus this mesh or not? So when you see a star, remember that you have focused this mesh. So now I finished my first concept, which is nutrition disorders. I have to search the same way the second concept. What is the mesh? I don't know. MEDLINE will help me identify. All I have to do is simply type in my concept, and here it identified all of these suggested meshes. So I have to go over these. Which one will apply for my Arab countries? Probably it's the Middle East. So again, I click on the link, Middle East, and I open the tree structure. What narrower mesh terms do you expect under Middle East? The countries, the Arab countries. So again, Middle East is under Asia Western, and under Middle East, I have all of these narrower mesh terms. And as you notice, most of them are Arab, but they contain some non-Arab countries. And again, we have 4,254 articles that talk about Middle East. But if there is an article that talks about Lebanon, is it included in these? No. If it talks about Jordan, Syria, they are not included. But I am interested in any article that talks about Middle East or Lebanon or Jordan or Syria or. What shall I do? Explode. The first, now I might get 100,000 articles talking about Middle East or talking about any of its narrower mesh terms. The countries are the only meshes that we don't explode, لأنه they're not medical, so we don't we don't focus the countries. Now, some of you might do it in a different way. Here I will get articles about Afghanistan, Iran, Israel, and Turkey, which are non-Arab. You can do it like this, and you as a human being later will remove these non-Arab countries. Or you might say, I don't want to search Middle East. I will select which countries I want. And by the way, Palestine is not listed. It's listed under Israel. So you can select Israel and you will remove the ones that you're not interested. Okay, is this correct? Is something missing in my search? Okay, but in this page before I leave, Middle East, I should take Middle East without explode, because there are some articles that talk about Middle East, they go under Middle East, and it would be relevant to my search. So I will take Middle East. I will not explode because I have selected the Arab countries that I want. And now I can do the search continue. And somebody said there are African countries. I know Egypt is one Arab country that is not under Middle East. So if we come and search for Egypt as a mesh, and we go to the tree structure, what shall I do? North Africa or explode, so I will get North Africa or any of these, and all of them are Arab countries, and now I am done. So now I have my concepts. I simply type in 1 and 2 and 3. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. Parentheses. When they are all and, no need for parentheses. Parentheses only when you have a mixture of ands and ors. Do I need 1 and 2 and 3? This means that I want an article talking about obesity and Lebanon and Egypt. But obesity and Lebanon is enough for me. Obesity and Egypt is enough for me. So now I have a mixture of ands and ors. I have to put my parentheses. And now this is my search. So it's good that I have focused. I have 1,000 something hits. It's good that I have focused number 1. Now, if I was looking for nutrition disorders in the aged people, I should know that we have options here for limit and additional limits. Again, familiarize yourself with what is in the limits. And what is in the limits, you take it from the limits. For example, if I'm looking for female English Review article, sometimes you want a review only. So you can come specify years here. Age groups, if we're interested in the aged, we can either take this or this or this. Let's take the 45 plus. And this is for animals, male, female, pregnancy, and many things under publication type. So it would be nice if you familiarize yourself what is in the limits, and if you're searching for the thing, for example, review, you don't take review as a concept. You know that you can take it from the limits. Age, you don't put it in as a concept. You know you can take it from the limits. And here we have the hits. The most recent ones come at the beginning and you go backwards. Sometimes the articles will have the PDF attached to it. I'm not seeing any on this page, but the PDF will be listed here. There's a link PDF. Or sometimes you have SML full text available. So you click here, 2-3 clicks, it should open the full text. Or if it doesn't show PDF nor SML full text, then you have to go and search for the journal, or you come and consult with the library staff. Articles that we don't have and you really need them, we can buy them for you from outside and send them back to you. So this is very simply how to do a basic simple search. Let's complicate it a little bit. Suppose I did this search and I didn't get anything, or I got only 2 articles result. What shall I do? The first thing, I remove the focus. So I removed, let's say I removed the focus, and again, I didn't find anything. Remove limits. If I had selected prevention or control, diet therapy, drug therapy, take all subheadings. Remove limits. If I have limited age group or review or anything, you might. Let's say we did all these things, it didn't work. What should we think? بنعمل or بدل and. يا ساتر. بنقول له nutrition or Arab. لا. لا ما حزرتي. What shall we do? If you remember, when we went to the tree structure, I mentioned the broader mesh. Nutrition disorders can be broader mesh, nutritional and metabolic diseases. So you ask yourself, I'm not finding for nutrition disorders. Is it okay if I broadened to nutritional and metabolic diseases? If yes, you do that. The same thing with the Middle East, can be broader mesh, Asia Western. So you ask yourself, is it okay if I broaden to Asia Western? Let's say we did this campaign, it didn't work. We said that there are 2 ways that we can search MEDLINE. The good search, which is with the mesh and the sophistication that we went to, and the dumb keyword search. So now we did all the sophistication, it didn't work. So let's try the dumb keyword search, but now we have to make it less dumb with your help. Now, what is the dumb keyword search? The dumb keyword search is like this: Arab and nutrition. This is a dumb keyword search. Why? Because it will get me only the articles indexed in MEDLINE that contain the 2 words, Arab or nutrition, in the same article. But if it's nutritional or Arabs, so I will truncate nutrition or Arab. Okay, so I will truncate this Azim. But still, it is too dumb. Why? Because if there is an article that talks about nutrition disorders in Lebanon, will this search retrieve it? Why not? It doesn't know that Arab is Lebanon or Lebanon is Arab. This is just looking for the dumb keyword Arab. So how can I make it retrieve Lebanon? Because Lebanon nutrition disorders is very important for my topic. How can I make this search retrieve also nutrition and Lebanon? Now, what do I have? I have a mixture of ands and ors. So I have to apply my parentheses. Azim. If there is an article that talks about nutrition disorders in Syria, okay, I might list all of the Arab countries if I know them, if I'm interested in them. Or I might list few Arab countries that I know they have nutrition disorders and I'm interested in. So the first concept is being better, less dumb. But the second concept is very dumb. If there is an article that talks about obesity in Lebanon, and obesity is a nutrition disorder, will it retrieve it, this one? No, but obesity is very important. So what shall I do so that I will also retrieve? Again, now I will need my parentheses around these terms. So also malnutrition star or. So I will pick up terms that fall under my nutrition disorders, put them, use truncation, get the most important terms for me. And similarly for the Arab countries, maybe I'll put also Middle East, North Africa, or Egypt, and then I will search and. But here, I will get many irrelevant, and I lose many relevant, but I have no other choice. I did the good mesh search with all the sophistication, and we said that it didn't work. So I have to do this dumb search, try to make it as much less dumb as possible, and then before I leave to, if we don't find anything, then we might go to other years. Remember, this is only 20 years. We can go to 100 years. And remember that MEDLINE is only 5,700 international journals. So if you don't find, maybe in another database you will find. And we have a large number of databases that you can search. But the most important one is MEDLINE. In a medical library, the most important one is MEDLINE. Now, so far in MEDLINE, I have covered probably 15% of the information. But it is the base that will give you knowledge about doing many searches in a good way. If you need to know more, we have a guide on our homepage that we have put. If you go back, this is our homepage. There is SML Research Guide. And here, we try to put the live sessions that we give in classes. So you have the home, the general search guide, where we have our famous Boolean operators, truncation, and so on. And there's a tutorial on MEDLINE if you want to get more information. Now, do you have any topic that you would like us to search on MEDLINE?
Do you have any English paper you want to take care of it right now?
Psychopathy and mirror neurons.
And?
Mirror neurons.
Mirror neurons. Mirror neurons and empathy and psychopathy. Okay. So how many concepts is your topic? 2. We said that we search with the mesh. So psychopath.
Where did you get this?
Okay. Psychopathy. Let's see if there is a mesh for that. Okay. The most difficult part in searching MEDLINE is to identify the mesh that is suitable for my search. Once you identify the mesh or meshes, it will be routine. Okay? Now, for psychopath, I wrote psychopathy, and this is what I got. So you have to tell me, probably this is the one that would be relevant to you, correct? Criminals,
Criminals or any.
but
I'm just like nature.
okay, so criminals, so you want criminals and so you're changing your topic.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go with any of them. This is
Right, let's go to this antisocial personality. Okay, so here, is it antisocial personality or do you want to broaden to personality disorders? You will decide. Okay, if you want to take only this, that's fine. Yes. Paranoid. لا عقدتيها هيك. Okay, it doesn't matter. You are the one doing the search, so you will be knowing what mesh to choose better than anyone else. If you are in doubt, you look at the tree structure, you see your mesh, does it fall under which tree, and what are the narrower mesh terms, and if need by, you can go to the eye to make sure that this is the mesh that you want. Now, because it's a psychology topic, it might not be presented 100% in a clinical medicine database. You would be able to search for it better in a psychology database. But it doesn't mean you're not going to find here. But the mesh that will fit exactly what you want as a concept will be fitting more as a clinical medicine, not as psychology. Psychiatry, yes. But you can select the mesh or meshes that will fit your psychopathology. Okay, let's say this is the one that you want, and I'm not going to take the broader one. I click continue, and I get the list of subheadings. Now, what you want, do you want to select any subheading, or are you going to take everything? Okay, if you don't know specifically which subheading to choose, take everything. So this is my first concept. Okay, what's the second concept? Criminals, you said? Empathy.
Empathy. It's neurobiology.
Okay. So this is empathy. I go to the tree structure. Maybe you will change the mesh, take something broader or something narrower. So this is empathy. Do you want to change or take another mesh with it? You will decide that. So let's say you take only empathy, and then I'm going to take all subheadings, and you can simply and these, and with the results. So I got 191. Hella, there are many ways that you can play with it. Okay, I will see these 191, and when I identify an article that is relevant, I look at the meshes. Maybe there is a mesh that we missed and you can take it. Or I don't want to look at all of these. I can say like this, for example, 8 and because you used the word psychopath and the mesh was not exactly psychopath, what I will do, I will add what I got here as 191 with the word psychopath, psychopathy, psychopaths, and I got 114. And then you look at these articles, and if there is an article that looks relevant to you, you click on the title, and it tells you what were the meshes that were used to index the article. These are the meshes. Maybe looking at these meshes, you identify another possible mesh. So there is no way that you can stop in your search. You can do, and every time you choose a different mesh or a different keyword, you get different results. So for every topic that you have, try different ways of searching, especially if your mesh does not really come as your concept, because you said the concept psychopathy, and we didn't find the term psychopathy. So it's not fitting. It's not like the nutrition disorders. I'm looking for nutrition disorders. I found the mesh, so I don't have to worry. But here, you can play with it, broaden, decrease, in a way that is relevant to you. And many times, I will go and look for the mesh that the articles were indexed with, relevant articles to me, to see what mesh they have used. Because this is the major obstacle in searching Medline, is to identify the mesh. And it becomes more severe when it's a different term, like psychopathology, and I'm not finding. Is it antisocial behavior? Is it what? Especially if I'm not a psychologist, I cannot decide. But you can decide if you give it some time and look at the meshes that are near this antisocial personality, and looking at the eye, you will decide what the mesh or meshes that you have to use to cover your psychopathy. And remember that Medline, it's a clinical database. It does contain psychology, sociology, genetics, nutrition, but the meshes might not fit in your terminology as other databases that are relevant to your topic.
Is there an option to cite?
To cite, you can export citations to RefWorks or EndNote. Yes, definitely. You want me to show you how? Okay, I can take this one, for example, and this one, and I can export. And then here, you will select which one you want, let's say RefWorks, for example, or whatever your citation management tool, and then you go here to complete reference and export. Now it should open RefWorks, and you will follow on. Now I want to teach you something that I use a lot in Google. Let's go to Google, our friend Google. Whenever I want to do something that librarians do, libraries provide, whatever it is, let's say export citations, Medline, RefWorks.
We're going to learn EndNote next week.
EndNote. Okay, whenever I want something that librarians do, I go to our friend Google, I put the search, whatever terms, and at the end I put this magic word. Take it down, LibGuides. And what do you get? You'll get guides that librarians write for their users, explaining whatever you're looking for. And usually these are wonderful guides, very easy to understand. You can understand them yourself, and you'll have many, for example, Oregon State, there is a LibGuide. You try few until you find something that you find the display is interesting or something, and you get it. It's similar to the LibGuide. This is a LibGuide that I have done. So when we search Google, we get these are different LibGuides done by librarians. I find this very useful. I use it almost every day. Any question that I get that I don't understand, even though I've been working here for 37 years, there are still sometimes I get questions that I don't know the answer, so I go to our friend Google and I simply put in LibGuides. Okay, any question about Medline? Now, let's go to PubMed and anybody uses PubMed? Who uses PubMed? Who have used PubMed before? Only these? Okay. Now, what is PubMed? PubMed, the core content of PubMed is identical to MEDLINE, but PubMed has additional 2% articles more than MEDLINE, and it's more up to date than MEDLINE. The search interface here is different. So for those who use PubMed, let me show you how to search PubMed. For example, if I do a search like this on PubMed, I put steroids and I get 800,000 articles. Because PubMed, it's from the early 1900s up to now. It's not divided into chunks. Okay, but what are these articles? Are these articles that talk about steroids? Well, are these articles that contain the keyword steroids? If there is an article that talks about steroids but does not have the word steroids, do we retrieve it or not? Oh, كله غلط. If there is an article that talks about cortisone and does not have the word steroids, do we retrieve it? Yes and no, no and yes. Now, if you want to do good searches on PubMed, you have to understand how PubMed is executing my search. So when I do a search like this, I cannot tell how PubMed is doing it. I have to go a little bit down to something that says search details. Now I'm going to put it on the whole screen. Search details, it tells me how PubMed executed my search. Now, when I put steroids, PubMed searches for steroids as a mesh. What does that mean? It means that it gets me articles that talk about steroids. The indexer, he read the article, he found out it talks about steroids, he assigned the mesh steroids. Maybe it contains the word steroids, maybe it doesn't. I don't care. I care in the indexer, reading the article, he found that it talks about steroids. That's why he assigned the mesh steroids. Okay? Also, when you see a mesh in PubMed, there is automatic explode. So now here, I'm searching for the mesh steroids and exploding. So if there is an article that talks about cortisone and does not have the word steroids, do we get it? Yes, because there is explode. If it talks about estradiols, pregnanes, dexamethasone, all of these, yes, we get it because there is the explode of the mesh. But the story does not end up here. We have all steroids, all fields. What's this? This is similar to the dumb keyword search. But why do they put this one here? Is it to make your life miserable? Yes, no. There's a reason for that, and the reason is that we said that MEDLINE and PubMed, they index around 5,700 journals. And some of these journals are weekly publications. Yani every week there's an issue with 30, 40 articles. To read them and to assign meshes, it takes time. So what they do in PubMed, at the beginning they have technicians that do data entry. They enter the information directly and then the physician will come and read the article and assign mesh terms to that. So there is a time lag period between data entry and assigning mesh. So if I search only with the mesh, I will not retrieve the very recent articles entered into PubMed and not yet indexed with mesh. That's why they put this one. But the disadvantage is that this will get me articles that have the family name of the author steroids, if there is such. So here I can remove this one. If I say it's okay if I missed the latest 2-3 weeks of recent articles, I can do the search only with the steroids so that I will not get the irrelevant ones. And now I will get less than the previous one, less number of hits. And here I will get articles that talk about steroids or talk about any of its narrower mesh terms. Okay? Now, how do we search for PubMed? Let's take a very simple example. Let's say I'm interested in effect of steroids on asthmatic children. To search for PubMed, there are two ways. One way, you break it into concepts, search each concept alone, and then combine using Boolean operators. Effect of steroids on asthmatic children. How many concepts is that? 4. Effect. Do we really need to put effect as a concept? What for? When I search steroids and asthma, this is effect. So there is no need for the effect. So steroids is a concept, asthma is a concept. Children, I should know that I can take it from the limits, so I don't need to consider it as a concept. So we have two concepts. I have already searched for steroids, so now I will search for asthma. And this is my search. So I finished my concepts, so I go to the advanced. The advanced will tell me all the searches that I have done. So now I want to combine number 1 and number 3. I come here, click edit, and put this one, number 1. I could have said number 2 and number 3. So you decide. So this is asthma and steroids. The children, on the left-hand side, we have the limits. But they don't put all limits so as not to crowd the page. I want the age group children. It's not shown here. So I click here, show additional filters. And I'm interested in the ages. I click show, and it will be shown here. So here are the filters for ages. I'm interested in children. I click on this one, Kano 13,000, Saro 5,000. So this is how I can search, one way. Another way is simply by going asthma steroids, and I get the same number. Okay, so these are the ways I can search for type. Let's do a few searches with the time left. Let's say I'm interested in brain CT. You all know what is CT. I get 0 results. Why? Because the filters that I applied previously are still here. I have to remove them. So when I remove them, I get my search. Now, is this a good search? Whenever you search PubMed, if you want to do a good search, you do your words, concepts, and at the end, you look at the search details. Many search details, you have to make sure that every concept was mapped correctly to the mesh. If this is the case, you're doing a good search. If it's not the case, something is wrong. So now I put brain CT, and is this a good search? I don't know. I have to go to the search details. What does the search details tell you? It looked for a brain, as there is an author that has the family name Brain, واسمه الأول Christopher واسم بيو Thomas. So PubMed thought I'm looking for brain CT لأن الauthors are entered into PubMed as family name space initials. So how can I remedy this? One easy way is to force an AND. Now it's not going to take it as author. So I got 43,000, but is it a good search? I don't know. Let's go to the search details. Now, brain was mapped correctly to the mesh, but the CT was not mapped correctly to the mesh. So there's something wrong in this strategy. So I have to put computed tomography. And do the search. Again, to make sure that I'm doing a good search, I have to go to the search details. Brain was mapped correctly, and CT was mapped correctly to the mesh. So this is a good search. Let's do one final before we leave. بعد معنا 5 دقايق. Now, walking aids. You all know what's walking aids? Yes. Is this a good search? We don't know. Looking at the mesh, looking at the search details, is it a good search? We have to make sure that the two concepts were mapped correctly to the meshes. Is it correctly mapped to the meshes? It's not acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, so it's not mapped correctly. So how can I search for walking aids? To search for walking aids, you have to go to title walking aids. So I will be looking for articles that have in the title the words walking aids. I have 52 articles, and I will see these articles, what were the meshes used to index these articles. And to see the meshes, I have to change the display from summary to abstract, and I will get the meshes listed. For example, this one, it doesn't have meshes yet. Here we have meshes. So I look at the meshes. What is the mesh that I should use? Canes, crutches, and I will be seeing a number of articles to collect all of these meshes, and then self-help devices, and then I will come and do my search. So I can do walkers, canes. Is this a good search? Do I want walkers and canes and crutches? There is a Boolean and by default in PubMed. So if I want or, I have to put or like this. And now what do I have? I have and here or horn. So we have to put our parentheses. Okay. Any questions? So this is a better search for the walking aids. Any question?
Let's conclude this with one or two questions, please. Before we thank Mrs. Farha.
Any questions, guys? We know that it was long, but it's a very informative session.
It's a whole course.
Extremely helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's thank Mrs. Farha for the
Thank you very much.
Now, today's session, in addition to next week's session, they are going to be amazing to help you build the library of your references using the search engine, well, the database that we will use, which is called EndNote. So you will learn how to use that, and in my opinion, that's a very extremely good one. We will see you next week. Thank you very much.